Good day, dear students. Today we are starting yet another poem, and the name of the poem is Landscape of the Capibaribe River. It's by João Cabral de Melo Neto. He is from Brazil, especially from Pernambuco. So here in this poem, you are going to learn a lot about the way a stream disintegrated into almost nothingness or into a muddy, slimy, dirty thing which we can't call a river. And that degradation is now presented, but how it had been is also hinted at. So these two are placed side by side, and you get to know how this degradation of the environment affects a river. So here, let's see how it is going to begin. So the poet Cabral comes from Pernambuco, Brazil, and he belongs to the concrete poetry movement. And you will also find traces of surrealism and cubism in his early poetry, not in this poetry but in his early poetry, but you will find a lot of surrealistic element in this poem also. In the last years of his life, he lost his eyesight, and so he stopped writing in the year 1990, because to him there can be no poetry without visual perception, because he believed that there was nothing unpremeditated about art. You have to see something, you have to think about it, you have to compose something, and only then good art can be produced. And he is also of the opinion that art is never accidental. Some people will say that it was quite accidental, and so he immediately composed a poem. That very rarely happens. Cabral is one person who thinks that art is premeditated, and you have to think of it in your mind, you have to fashion it, you have to write about it, and then correct it, and then compose it, and then correct it, and then present it. That is how it comes. So he believed in a very straightforward, concrete type of poetry, and that can be traced in his poems also. So when you take the poem Landscape of the Capibaribe River, it presents a landscape and it also presents a waterscape. And these two are scarred by waste, poverty, and environmental degradation. And I will explain these in detail as we go along with the poem, because this needs a lot of explanation. So you find the environmental crisis, which is best reflected in images of water, particularly rivers, lakes, and oceans. Because you find that whenever you find of when people speak about environmental crisis, immediately you find a sea which is covered with a lot of plastic waste, and you will also find a lot of river or water, mainly oceans, lakes, and rivers, which are polluted by the waste that is put into it by the human beings, and it is that picture which becomes the picture of environmental crisis in the world, because all of us know that water is very important, and once you start polluting the water, it means you are harming yourself, and it is that which is picturized by the images of water, especially rivers, lakes, and oceans. Here also the poet builds up the poem by the technique of cataloguing and a series of analogies which are also presented in the poem. So he is not just telling us the river is polluted, but he brings in a lot of images to present it with, and those images remain concrete in the mind of the reader. And this is the manner in which he portrays the river, and it is also the manner in which he portrays the degradation of the river. So let's see how it is. The image of the river is a dog. This is how the poem continues. The poem begins: the city is crossed by the river as a street is crossed by a dog, a piece of fruit by a sword, the river called to mind the dog's docile tongue, or a dog's sad belly, or that other river which is the dirty wet cloth of a dog's two eyes. Let's take this first and the second stanza together, and you'll find that these two stanzas really form a picture. And the city is crossed by the river. The city is divided by the river that passes through it, and this is like a street crossed by a dog. That is, how does a dog cross a street? Maybe it will look this side and that side, and it will never go straight. It will zigzag, and this is how it reaches the other side. Or it is almost like a piece of fruit which is cut by a sword. Sometimes the aim is sharp, and sometimes it is correct, but sometimes it will be sliced in a slanting manner. So, whatever be the way it is done, the city is crossed by the river. So, the river now recalls to the mind of the poet a dog's docile tongue. A dog which is docile will use the tongue to lick you or to lick the other people, or even it will hang out loud, and it has got no energy of its own, as if the dog doesn't have anything else to do. Or it could be like a dog's sad belly. Dog's sad belly. The belly is not sad, but this the sadness is associated with mainly the human beings. This is associated with the dog and the dog's belly. So you find a kind of a transferred epithet here, where you find the belly is supposed to be sad, or that the other river, which is the dirty wet cloth of a dog's two eyes. So it could be the other side of the river, and it looks like the two eyes of a dog. So when you look at this poem, you will find in the first stanza, the city is crossed by the river, and it is like the dog crossing a street. And again, the imagery of the dog continues in the poem, and it is like a docile tongue of a dog. It is like the sad belly of a dog, or it is like the two eyes of the dog, which is like the other river, which is almost like the dirty wet cloth. So when you find the imagery of a dog that dominates, as the poet describes the present condition of the river, because this dog, we have to think of it as a street dog, a pet animal which is cared for in the house will not be on the streets. So we have to imagine that this dog is a street dog. So there is no one to look after the street dog, and everyone has drives it away. Nobody wants it nearby. It is filled with fleas. It is dirty. No one gives it a bath. So it is so dirty. So nobody wants it any nearby. Anyone's near. And so this is how the river is described. Nobody wants the river to be their side, or near there. Nobody wants to be near the side of the river also. It is so dirty. So the imagery of a dog dominates as the poet describes the present condition of the river. It recalls to mind the tongue of a dog, which is docile, or it is like a dog's belly, or a dog's two eyes. The dog here is not ferocious. So the poet, using terms like docile, sad, etc., shows the nature of the dog. So the term dirty wet cloth is used to denote yet another river, and it is flung aside. You don't put it in a stretch to dry, because it is a dirty wet cloth which is to be washed. So naturally it is crumbled and put into a heap. Nobody bothers with it for time because it is already dirty. And this other river could also be like a dirty wet cloth. And then he says it looks like the two eyes of a dog. So somehow or other, The only word that comes to the poet's mind as he visualizes the river, Capibaribe River, is the image of a street dog, which is driven from one place to the other by the people. They don't want the dog nearby. And why is it so? Because it is so contaminated that they daren't go near this river. So this image is worked out throughout in the poem. Let's see how it goes in the next few stanzas. The river was like a dog without feathers. It knew rose nothing of the blue rain, of the rose-colored fountain, of the water in a water glass, of the water in pitchers, of the fish in the water, of the breeze in the water. So here, in this third stanza, the dog imagery is revived, but he says it is like a dog without feathers, which is an anomaly. It is quite absurd, and it is also it is something that just did not happen normally, abnormal. So dog without feathers. Maybe it is like the dog which is not cared for. So the river had no idea of the clear water of the blue rain, nor does it have, it knew nothing, rose nothing of the blue rain, of the rose colored fountain. Maybe wherever this fountain is, where there is the running water, the rain also dripping water, of the water in a water glass, of the water in the pitchers, of the fish in the water, of the breeze in the water. All these are imagery of the running water or clear water or pure water. So one after the other, the poet uses these terms in order to emphasize the point that this particular river has no memory of either the blue rain or the rose-colored fountain or the water in a water glass or pitcher or the fish in the water or the breeze on the water. When there is a breeze, the water has ripples, and these ripples indicate that the water is flowing freely. There is no ripple on the water of this particular river, because whatever that is called as water flowing as the river, it is flowing, but somehow or other it is sluggish. Sluggish in the sense that it has a lot of things together, a lot of dirt together. And so instead of the lightness of the water, it has got a heaviness. And that is why the breeze on the water just do not cause any ripples. And the river had forgotten all those things, because now the water of the river is not exactly the water as we have seen it to be. It is not raining, or it is not the rainwater, nor is it the rose-colored fountain, the fountain water which will be always taken in and then coming, and it is always moving. And like the water in a water glass, it is also there, because if the water glass is there, then it will be dripping, or even it will be there, and maybe if it is a glass of water for drinking, then it is pure. Then, or in a pitcher also, the pot which holds the water, you pour it into the glass and drink. That also is clear water. Or the fish in the water. Fish can live only in pure water or in clear water. And the breeze on the water. The breeze which causes ripples on the water, and the water is happily flowing. These are the images that we have of a river. But this particular river has no remembrance of this. The river was like a dog without feathers. The dog must have had feathers, but now it is without feathers. Feathers are decorations, but now this river is without decorations, and it just do not know the decoration of the free-flowing quality of water that it once had. It is, as I told you earlier, just sluggish. This river is so polluted that the idea of pure unpolluted water is an enigma to it. It just have no idea what it is to have unpolluted water, and how to be as how it is to flow easily, lightly, nothing like that. There is no water coming, and it can't flow. Even if the water is coming, it joins with the other slug, other dirt, and it becomes all the more heavier. The fish in pure water, the water to drink from a glass, and so on. The list continues. The poet gives as a list of things that this particular river just do not remember, which is indeed a very sad thing for for a river. It knew the crabs of mud and rust. It knew silt like a mucous membrane. It must have known the octopus and surely knew the feverish women living in oysters. So the poet is now taking us back to the memory of the river, and he says, "Once upon a time, this river knew crabs. You find the creatures that dominated or that lived in the water and on the banks of the river, which was really fertile. And maybe it is muddy, but at the same time, it is so fertile, and the crab moves from the water to the shore and makes a hole. And so people used to catch the crabs. And crabs, now it is crabs of mud and rust, which is so sluggish, and there are no crabs. It knew silt like a mucous membrane. Once upon a time, it knew the silt, and he brings in an imagery like a mucous membrane. Nothing more than that. It is just there. It must have known the octopus and surely knew the feverish women living in oysters. The feverish women living in oysters must be the women collecting the oysters or even trying to sell the oysters, collecting it en masse. And maybe the river knew octopuses. It again shows how the diversity or the biodiversity this river had once upon a time. And the biodiversity develops because conditions are favorable. It is not touched by human beings. It is unpolluted. And if that is the condition, a river will have all these things. But now it has only crabs of mud, the mud cracking on the other side, like the legs of the crab, and it is so dry, and rust, silt, octopus. Octopus was once upon a time there, but now it is no longer there. And also women living in oysters means maybe they were oysters to collect, and naturally the women were living, having a very sheltered life like the oysters, and it speaks of a greater biodiversity. And now it's all gone, and now only the memories remain, which is indeed a sad plight. So here you find that these oysters and also the thought of the river moving along. He first describes the river and also the dog imagery, which is brought in very prominently. He brings in that dog imagery, and now he is moving on to the memory of the river, the memory which takes you back to the biodiversity, the richness of the shore, the richness of the variety of fish and the beings on this in this water. Everything is noted because he knew that once upon a time this river must have been like this, maybe, and it is there is a surety about it. That's why it is recorded in the maps as a blue river. But now you don't have that kind of a blue color to the river because of the water color of the water. The blue color is indicated by the river in the on the map, and once upon a time it must have been blue, or that color, it reflected the color of the sky. But now it has no color to speak of, only mud and dirt and sluggish nature, and there is no breeze because the water is not free flowing like the rain, like the fountain, like the water in the pitcher. Nothing like that. The river has no water to speak of. And if you want to take in 1 cup of water from the river, you will get only slug or silt or something else so sluggish, which is indeed an extremely sad plight for the water of the river and for the river itself. And you have seen in the first, the second, and the third stanzas how he uses the imagery of the dog, and the dog which is just pushed away by the people. And likewise, maybe the river had shrunk in size also, maybe because of the encroachment or because of the way the dirt had accumulated on the sides. maybe it had shrunk in size and it separates the city into two halves. But even then, the poet is determined to use the imagery of a dog, and we, the readers, have to conclude that it is a street dog. And how vehemently you will shoo away a dog, a street dog, because it is so dirty, and this is the manner in which the river is flowing now. Nobody wants to be near the dog. Nobody wants to think of it and say it's a good river or enjoy the breeze from the river, nothing like that. And you will also find that the people wants to be as far away from the river as possible. This again is indeed an indication of the sad condition of this river. So the poet can write only about the river of his country. And from Pernambuco, he is speaking about the Capibaribe River, and he belongs to Brazil. And we don't have many poets from Brazil included in our collection. And Cabral is one such poet who is of the opinion that art is premeditated, and he uses the scenes from his country, especially of the river. And you will find that this is an extremely apt image of the not just of Capibaribe River, I think of most rivers which once upon a time had been a fully running river, which was contaminated to such an extent that the water you can't see, only black slime you will find in some rivers, which is indeed an extremely sad plight, because the waste from so many things are accumulated there. People do not take care of the way the river had been nourishing them. They are not thankful. They are just trying to find a place to dump your waste on something or the other. And this is the condition of most of the small rivers of our country. You need not go to Brazil or even to Pernambuco to find such a river. If you look around you, you will find a stream which had been so dirty by the years that it is black slime and not water. You will find water flowing through it when the rainy season comes in our country, because the rainy season will wash away all this dirt and will make it clean. Otherwise, there is water, but it is so contaminated that it is impossible to clean away the slime by any amount of water during the summer season. So during the rainy season, because we have rains in abundance, this comes and flows for some time. But even then, nobody will ever dare to get into the water of that particular river or stream, because it is so contaminated that you don't trust yourself with the water of that particular stream in your place. And this is the condition with this river also. Like a street dog, you shoo away. You're afraid that something will happen to you if you are near this dog. You don't want to pet this animal. You don't want to be anywhere near you. You just try to throw a stick or a stone at this river or this which is like compared to a dog. And this is exactly the imagery that he brings to our mind. And he uses the word dog in the first stanza once, and in the other second stanza almost on in every line. You just check and find out how the imagery of the dog is so dominant in the poem. Okay, thank you. We'll see again in the next class with the next part of the poem. Okay, we can't continue with the poem as such continuously. We have to take it in sections. So it will take some time for us to finish this. So be patient and go through the poem, and also read about Cabral, and also about his poetry and his style of writing, and also the summary of the poem. Okay, thank you.